to duel!
Hey YouTube, Babyjace here, and today we're going to talk about the Mythic Cenarius raid encounter in the Emerald Nightmare. Now, Mythic Cenarius is pretty much the true in-boss of the tier because he is extremely difficult, much more difficult than Xavius. To put this in perspective, Cenarius took us around 100 wipes to get, and Xavius took us 16. So he's extremely difficult, so just basically be ready for a very tough fight. There's very few changes going from Heroic to Mythic. It's just his pre-existing mechanics are very difficult to deal with. They're especially Brambles. God damn Brambles. You're going to love those. Now, the main changes to this fight are two of his little ads do a little something extra. And when you cleanse an ad, as he's doing the next wave of corrupted ads, the previous ad that you cleanse will now come back and you have to kill it. So that adds a little difficulty to the fight, especially because of the Wisps. The Wisps they're a beast to deal with. Now, when the Wisps die on Mythic difficulty, they basically do a 500k AoE explosion to the entire raid, so you want to make sure that you stagger them slightly so to allow ticks of Trank and Healing Tide Totem to actually do their job. The other change is the tree. When the tree is corrupted, it does a stomp, and it immediately does another stomp after it, so you just have to soak 2 stomps. Make sure you use a cooldown for this because you're going to need it. We use SLT. SLT is probably the best cooldown to use for the stomps. So you really want to Resto Shaman if you can. This fight is a 3 tank, 5 healer, 12 DPS fight. So you best have a good tank. As far as what tank type, probably DK is like the worst tank you could bring on this fight. Paladins, Warriors, and Guardian Druid are extremely strong. DK is very weak. I actually, at this time, do not believe there's even a DK tank who's ever killed this fight, at least tanking the boss. Maybe they tanked the dragons, but I don't believe a DK has tanked the boss and killed this fight. You're going to want to have a third tank on this fight, and mainly because you're going to want to tank your dragons all the way in the corner. On the minimap, you can see the dot of our warrior, and he's going to basically be in the corner tanking the dragons the entire time. Be aware the breath of the dragons is very it's not straightforward. It looks like you might be out of it, but you're not out of it. You're in it still. So be very careful. Treat that area as off limits because the dragon breath will kill you super fast, especially when there's 4 dragons up. But yeah. You're going to pick up a dragon from the first wave, you're going to pick up a dragon from the second wave, and then you're going to pick up you're going to pick up 2 dragons from the 4th wave, I believe. So, or it's either the 3rd or the 4th. So just make sure you are aware that you're going to be tanking 4 dragons until the end of the fight. Starting off the fight, we had 1 healer always over there with him, and then when the 4th dragons came up, we had a 2nd healer go over there. And then sometime later in Phase 2, when our tank said that he was out of cooldowns, we had a 3rd healer go over there. Because pretty much in the last phase, if your dragon tank dies, those dragons become loose, and they will wipe you so fucking fast, it is unbelievable. So it is #1 priority that you keep that dragon tank alive. One last thing to go over before we do the step-by-step of this fight. You're going to want to know which trees that you are purifying at the different phases of the fight. So for the first set of Forces of Nightmare, you're going to want to purify the Wisp. For the second set, the Wisp again. For the third set, you're going to want to purify the Tree. And for the 4th set, you're going to want to purify the Wisp yet again. Okay, here we go. We pulled the boss. And we're immediately going to bring the boss over to blue because that is the first tree that you're going to be purifying. You want to purify the Wisps first so that you're only dealing with the tree and a dragon. So we're all just pretty much nuking the boss here. Tree's up. You want your 3 melee to be close-ish to the tree. If you have 3 people on a tree, it'll always spawn that tree. Okay, tree's up. And you're pretty much just going to keep nuking the boss while your tank goes and grabs the corrupted tree. And he's going to grab that corrupted tree and bring it in. And you're going to want to cleave off of the boss onto the tree or on the tree onto the boss. We had a certain amount of people cleaving from boss to tree and a certain amount of people just DPSing the tree. It just needs to die before it gets its second cast off. It doesn't have to die immediately. Just before it gets the second stomp off, you're good to go. As you see here, we all soaked the stomp with SLT. Here come the Brambles. They're, zooming on through, trying to kill some people. Brambles really suck. I hate that mechanic so much, and I don't even have to deal with it. So you can imagine how much you're going to hate it when you're ranged on this fight. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing here. We're just killing the tree, killing the boss. This is probably the easiest part of the fight. You'll get past this part pretty soon, because I'm sure the first few wipes are going to be someone's going to have brambles. They're not going to realize it, and it's going to go right through the melee and just root everyone. So that happens. Alright, so he's now casting Forces of Nature again, or Corrupt Allies of Nature, and at this point all the wisps are now coming up. All the wisps that were purified, they're now up, and we're basically killing them off. Now wisps are pretty much the priority here. You want to get off boss, and you want to just be killing wisps. As soon as wisps are dead, you want to go over to the Twisted Sister. You're going to need 2 interrupts per Twisted Sister. So I get this first interrupt, and someone else can get the other interrupt, and your cooldown should be up by the time you need to interrupt again. So you just need a 2-man rotation on the Twisted Sisters. And don't worry so much about your circle being on other people. Focus on you not being in someone else's circle. Because when you're not in someone else's circle, that means that they are not in your circle either. And this is more relevant to the second set of sisters. Now, if she does put out the circle debuff and then dies, it won't do anything. So you can go ahead and just give it, who cares, basically gives a shit about your positioning at that point, because it's not going to go off. The debuff will expire, and then nothing will happen. Once she is dead, you're bringing the boss over to green, and you're basically going to be nuking on the boss. Our Holy Priest just fed to the roots, as you can see there. But yeah, you're just going to be tanking him on green. Make sure you reset your stacks on the Wisp pools before the third Forces of Nature come out. And I didn't reset my stacks, so I'm going to be at a much higher amount of stacks here. But yeah, you just want to reset, and then you're going to basically be killing off the Wisp again. Here comes a Wisp coming in to the tank. And I reset my stacks there on that tree. You either want to reset on the Wisp or you want to reset on that tree. But once you reset, when this phase starts, you can only reset once. That's it. You cannot reset more than once, because you are going to basically, everyone's going to be at like 40 plus fucking stacks going into the next phase, and it's brutal. So you just need to accept that's just how this fight works. You want to mark one of your sisters, and you want to cleave off of that sister onto the other sister, because you want one of the sisters to just die as fast as you can. As you can see here, that we're dealing with this mechanic. I'm just making sure I'm not in anyone else's circle, and if I'm not in anyone else's circle, they're not in mine either. And you just have your 2-man interrupt rotation on these Twisted Sisters, and that's pretty much it for them. It's going to take you a while to get used to this phase too. The Twisted Sisters really suck. But once you have killed one of them, you can bring the other sister in, and you can just start going on the boss again. As you can see here, none of the circles were blowing up because this sister had died. Once she does her blast, you want to bring the boss all the way back over to blue, and you're going to keep him here for pretty much the rest of the fight. But you want all your melee here. You want to bait out that brambles that he just shot out, because you don't want brambles anywhere near this tree. As you see here, I'm at 38 stacks. It's getting pretty nasty. You might need a health pot here. This is a pretty brutal phase. Once this phase starts, you're going to want to purify yourself and immediately get on this tree. And you're going to want to take this tree here away from the thorns debuff that the boss gives. And this tree, you do need all of your range to be soaking this tree with you, because it does a fuck ton of damage with those thomps. And you're going to want to SLT again. Here comes the roots. Roots, again, are pretty cancerous. It just took out our Mage Fury. And then they're kind of like sitting there, and they're going to start going after people again. I really, really hate the brambles, and you will too. Very soon. Once the tree dies, you're going to pretty much just be DPSing the tree until it dies. The tree has to die. Don't worry too much about the boss DPS here. That tree must die. But once you kill the tree, go ahead and reset your stacks on the Wisp puddles and then push the boss past 35%. If you need to use potions here, go ahead and use them. But you need to push before he casts his next Forces of Nightmare, because then the Wisp will come out, and then the dragons and the other idiots will come out, and it's just going to be really, really bad. So go ahead and push boss, and then you're going to enter into phase 2. Now note, however, if you have the debuff from phase 1, the tanking debuff, and he spears you, it's going to... Sometimes it's affected by the spear. So like, instead of doing the normal damage it's supposed to do, it does a fuck ton of damage. So you want to make sure your tank has no spear, just no tank debuffs going into this phase. One of your tanks cannot have a tank debuff, and they're going to be eating the spear. And you're going to need to use a lot of cooldowns for the spears. Just make sure that you don't cause a big ass puddle to spawn. Now, you are going to kill the first set of roots that are on Malfurion. You just need to kill the first set. Once you've killed the first set, you're fine. But as soon as they come up, everyone needs to get on them. You need to kill them as fast as you can. And then once you've killed the first set, you need to get back on the boss. As you can see here come the Bog Boys. They're coming on through. Make sure you dodge them. They're really slow and really easy to see. So they're not too big of a deal. In this phase as well, there's going to be 2 brambles going around. It's super, super cancerous, but this is not a DPS check. You need to just live. Do not feed to the brambles. Just kite them around. I know it sucks, but you have to do it. That's really all you can do with this phase. I know it blows, but realistically, that's pretty much your best shot. He's going to root here again on the Malfurion, but we're just going to ignore. Malfurion doesn't matter at this point. At this point, we just need to burn him because Vin in the back is going to die from all the dragons that he is tanking. Whatever tank you have on those dragons, he's probably going to be running out of cooldowns here, and it's pretty bad. So just make sure you focus on just killing this boss. This time, Vin didn't die, but usually he does die around this point. And that's pretty much it for Mythic Cenarius. This fight sucks. It actually really sucks. So I hope you can kill this in much less pulls than it took us. And I really hope that your ranged are ready to have the patience to kill this because they really need patience to deal with brambles. It's a very, very rough mechanic. That's pretty much it for this fight though. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm making more of these videos. And if you have any questions, go ahead, leave them in the comments. I answer most questions pretty fast. And other than that, have a good day.